Okay, so you know how you're already pretty awesome at English. Like you can follow those super complex discussions and write these really nuanced emails.
Right.
But then sometimes when you're just chatting, in a casual conversation, does it ever feel like your speaking could be a bit smoother? Like a little less hesitant? Or maybe you just don't sound quite as natural as you'd like?
That's a really interesting point. A lot of people who've gotten really good at English, they reach a stage where they can understand almost everything.
Yeah.
But then they feel kind of stuck,
Yeah.
Like they can understand it all, but they don't quite sound like a native speaker when they talk.
For sure. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Awesome.
We're going to uncover 7 really powerful strategies
Okay.
that can help you refine your spoken English, get rid of any stiffness,
Right.
and help you talk more naturally and effortlessly, just like a native speaker.
I like it.
So the first thing we're going to tackle is practicing speaking spontaneously under pressure.
Ooh, that sounds kind of scary.
I know, right? But hear me out.
Okay.
So think about it. Real fluency isn't just about knowing a ton of words. It's about being able to think and speak at the same time,
Yeah.
without overthinking or planning every word.
Like in a real conversation.
Exactly.
Huh.
And a bit of pressure can actually help you get better at this.
So how do we do that? Add some pressure.
Here's a cool exercise.
Okay.
Pick a topic, something kind of complex,
Yeah.
to get those brain juices flowing.
Like what?
Let's say, is social media ultimately helpful or harmful?
Okay. Interesting.
Set a timer for like 2 minutes.
2 minutes only.
Yep. And here's the catch. You got to start talking right away.
Oh, wow.
No planning, no outlining, no nothing.
Just go.
Exactly. Just start talking and don't stop until that timer goes off.
This sounds tough.
It is. And don't worry about making mistakes or being perfect.
Okay.
The goal is to just keep those words flowing.
Got it.
And you know what's really cool about this? It actually makes your brain work harder to remember the words and grammar you already know.
So it's like a workout for our brains.
Exactly.
Ugh.
And here's the step that might feel a little weird, but trust me, it's super helpful.
Is it?
Record yourself while you're doing this exercise.
Oh, no. I hate listening to my own voice.
I know. But it's not about judging yourself.
Right.
It's about noticing where you hesitate, where you search for the right word.
I see.
Those little stumbles that happen when we speak?
Yeah.
And then do the exercise again, maybe with the same topic or a different one.
Okay.
And you'll probably be amazed at how much smoother and faster you sound.
So it's like practicing and seeing the improvement.
Exactly. It's like training your brain to be ready for those real-life conversations.
Makes sense.
All right, so let's move on to our next tip.
Okay. Ready.
This one's about leveling up your use of filler words and natural pauses.
Wait, filler words? But I thought we were supposed to get rid of those.
I know, right? And we're always told to avoid saying, and.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Native speakers actually use filler words all the time. Yeah. But they use them strategically, Like instead of just dead air or those awkward ums.
Yeah.
They use phrases like, let me think about that for a second. Or, I'm not entirely sure, but here's my take on it.
That does sound more natural.
Right. And it gives you a moment to gather your thoughts without sounding lost.
I see your point.
And these strategic pauses and phrases, they actually help make your speech sound smoother.
Okay, so how do we get better at using these natural pauses and fillers?
One of the best ways is to pay close attention to how native speakers do it.
Like eavesdropping on their conversations.
Haha, sort of. Listen to podcasts, watch TED Talks, things like that.
Okay.
But don't just focus on the content.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how they deliver their message.
Like when and how they pause.
Exactly, and what phrases they use to connect their ideas or to stall for time.
Cool.
And try that. And here are a few phrases you can start using right away.
Yummy.
Well, to be honest, that's a really interesting question. That one buys you some thinking time. And let me rephrase that to make sure I'm being clear.
I like these.
See, it's not about speaking super fast.
Yeah.
It's about sounding confident and comfortable, even when you need a moment to think.
Right. It's about the rhythm.
Precisely. It's about making your speech sound natural with those rises and falls.
Makes sense.
Okay, ready for tip number 3?
Always.
This one's all about reframing and reformulating your ideas.
So like saying things in different ways.
Exactly. Instead of just giving a simple yes or no answer,
Yeah.
try to elaborate and add some nuance to what you're saying.
Got it.
So instead of just saying, yes, I agree, you could say something like, absolutely. And that makes me think about a broader trend that we often overlook.
Wow, that sounds so much better.
Right. It shows you're really engaged in thinking deeply about the topic.
I like it.
And here's a little challenge for you.
Hit me.
Take a simple phrase like, I enjoyed that,
Okay.
and try to say it in at least 3 different ways.
I'm a big fan of that. Or maybe that really resonated with me, or even that was surprisingly effective.
Perfect. You see, you can express the same idea in so many different ways.
And that makes you sound more fluent.
Exactly. It adds variety and makes your speech less predictable, more like a native speaker.
I'm starting to see the pattern here.
Good. Now, tip number 4 is about immersion, but with a twist.
A twist.
Yeah, it's called watch, repeat, imitate.
Sounds intense.
It is, but in a good way.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So you probably already watch movies or TV shows in English, right?
Yeah, of course.
But this time we're going to do it with a specific goal in mind,
Which is?
to actively improve your speaking skills.
Ah, I see.
It's not just about understanding the story anymore.
Right.
It's about really paying attention to how native speakers talk.
Okay.
So here's the drill.
I'm ready.
First, choose a short clip, maybe 30 seconds long.
Got it.
Then listen carefully and write down exactly what the speaker said.
Exactly, like word for word.
Yep, no paraphrasing or summarizing.
Wow, this is going to be tough.
It is, but it's worth it.
Okay.
And finally, the fun part, repeat the clip out loud and try to imitate the speaker's tone and energy.
So like I'm acting.
Kinda. It's about getting those sounds and rhythms into your system.
Interesting.
And here's another tip. Choose content that aligns with your goals.
What do you mean?
Well, if you want to get better at expressing emotions, watch some drama shows.
Okay.
If you need to improve your business English, listen to podcasts or interviews.
Makes sense.
And for everyday slang and casual talk, sitcoms are your best friend.
Cool. I can definitely do that.
The key is to absorb how native speakers use the language, not just what they say.
Right. It's about the delivery.
Exactly. And by imitating them, you're training your brain to use those patterns naturally.
Like building muscle memory for speaking.
You got it. Now, are you ready for tip number 5?
Bring it on.
This one's about playing with tone, emotion, and intonation.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
It is. Because, native speakers don't just say words.
Right.
They perform them.
Yeah.
They bring them to life.
Yeah. I get it.
Think about it. The same sentence can have totally different meanings depending on how you say it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Let's take a simple question. Are you serious?
Okay.
Now imagine saying it with anger, then with surprise, then with sarcasm.
Whoa. Yeah, the meaning completely changes.
Right. So here's a fun exercise for you.
I'm listening.
Record yourself saying a short sentence with different emotions.
Okay.
Like happy, sad, angry, excited,
Got it.
It might feel a little silly at first,
Uh-huh.
but it'll make you much more aware of how you use your voice.
And that's important for fluency.
Absolutely. Because native-like fluency isn't just about grammar and vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's also about being able to express yourself fully with your voice.
Emotions and all.
Exactly. All right, moving on to tip number 6.
Okay, what's next?
This one's about role-playing complex situations.
Role-playing, like actors do.
Kinda. But in this case, it's about preparing yourself for challenging conversations. So you might be pretty comfortable with everyday English, ordering food, chatting with friends.
Yeah, for sure.
But what about those tougher situations?
Like what?
Like negotiating a raise, explaining a complicated topic to someone,
Oh, yeah, those can be tricky.
or even dealing with a conflict at work.
Right.
These situations require a different level of fluency and confidence.
Yeah, sure.
So here's the challenge. Pick one of those scenarios and imagine you're actually in that moment,
Okay.
and then just start talking out loud for a couple of minutes.
Did say what?
Whatever comes to mind, as if you were really in that situation.
Like a practice run.
Exactly. For example, let's say you're practicing a salary negotiation.
Okay.
You could start by saying something like, as we discussed in my performance review, I've consistently exceeded expectations in my role, and I'm confident that my contributions have significantly benefited the team.
Wow, that sounds so professional.
Right. And the more you practice like this, the more natural and confident you'll sound when you face those situations in real life.
So it's like pre-programming my brain for success.
You got it. Now for our final tip, number 7.
I can't believe we're already on the last one.
I know time flies when you're having fun.
Right.
Okay, so this last tip is all about self-reflection, or what I like to call talking to yourself like a coach.
Talking to myself, that sounds kind of crazy.
I know, it might sound strange, but trust me, it works.
Okay, I'm willing to try anything at this point.
Good. So basically, at the end of each day, take a few minutes to ask yourself some questions out loud.
Like what kind of questions?
Things like, what did I do well in English today? What could I have said better? Or what new expression did I learn?
I never really thought about asking myself those questions before.
But it's super helpful.
Go so.
Well, it makes you more aware of your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And it helps you focus on what you need to improve.
Makes sense.
And here's a bonus tip. If you keep a journal, try speaking your entries before you write them down.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It'll help you connect your spoken and written English and make your writing sound more natural too.
Cool. I'll definitely try that.
Awesome. So do you want to do a quick practice drill together to put some of these tips into action?
Sure, I'm game.
All right, here's the topic. How has technology changed your life?
Okay.
I want you to talk for about a minute and try to use some of the techniques we've discussed.
Okay, let me think.
Like, you could start by saying something like, technology has completely revolutionized the way I live, from how I work to how I connect with people. I can't imagine life without things like instant messaging or video calls.
Okay, I think I can do that.
Great. And remember to pay attention to your tone and try to rephrase your ideas in different ways.
I'm ready.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, well, technology has definitely had a huge impact on my life. Like, I rely on it for pretty much everything these days, from staying in touch with family and friends who live far away to learning new things online, and even just for entertainment, you know? But sometimes I do feel like I'm too connected, like I need to take a break from my phone and computer every now and then. But overall, I think technology has made my life much easier and more efficient.
Awesome. See, that wasn't so hard, was it?
Not at all, actually. It was kind of fun.
Good. And you did a great job of incorporating some of the tips.
Thanks.
So just to recap quickly,
Okay.
we talked about 7 powerful strategies for achieving advanced fluency.
Let's hear them.
First, practice speaking spontaneously under pressure.
Check.
Master the art of using filler words and natural pauses.
Got it.
Reframe your sentences in different ways.
For sure.
Immerse yourself actively by watching and imitating native speakers.
Doing it.
Deliberately add tone and emotion to your delivery.
Sounds good.
Simulate real-world roles through practice. And make reflective speaking a regular habit.
I will.
And remember, you've already come so far in your English journey.
Yeah, that's true.
This is just about refining those skills and becoming even more confident and fluent.
I like the sound of that.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace those challenges and keep practicing.
You know what? I think I'm ready to take my English to the next level.
That's the spirit. And remember, your English is powerful. Own it.
I will. Thanks for the encouragement.
You're welcome, and thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Anytime.
That's it for today, folks. Keep practicing and keep speaking with confidence. All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
Now, if you're here, you probably already get a good bit of English.
Yeah.
I mean, you can read articles, maybe watch movies,
Yeah.
and handle basic conversations, but
Right.
there's this feeling of wanting your spoken English to be like way smoother, to feel more natural.
Yeah.
Maybe even sound a bit more, like a native speaker. And that's
Yeah.
what we're going to be focusing on today.
That's what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
Many learners, they get to this point where, they understand a lot. It's not the big challenge anymore. It's really that fluency.
Right.
It's bridging that gap to confident and fluent speaking.
Yeah. So that's exactly what our mission is in this deep dive, to equip you with 7 smart and I would say pretty practical techniques to help you on your journey to speaking more fluently.
Exactly. And these aren't just abstract ideas. They're things you can actually start doing right away to boost how fluently you speak,
Yes.
Get better control of your English vocabulary when you're talking and build that confidence.
Exactly.
That's so important.
That speaking confidence. Yeah. Are you ready to dive into these tips?
Absolutely. Let's start with one that might sound a little unusual.
Okay.
Shadowing native speakers daily.
Okay, shadowing. So let's break down what shadowing actually means.
Right.
It means you're going to listen to someone who speaks English fluently and then immediately repeat what they say.
Yes.
But the trick here is to really try and focus on how they say it.
The how.
Yes, their tone of voice, the rhythm of their speech, and how they pronounce each word.
And it's less about, consciously thinking about the grammar.
Yeah.
It's more about just imitating.
Yes.
Intuitively imitating and feeling.
Almost absorbing it.
Yeah, absorbing it, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like learning a new song. I mean, you don't dissect all the musical notes.
Right.
First, you just try to sing along
Right.
and match the singer.
Yeah.
So think about it this way. Imagine hearing someone say, "I'm not sure what I want for dinner." You would then say, "I'm not sure what I want for dinner."
I'm not sure what I want for dinner.
Exactly.
So it's just...
You're like their shadow.
Yes, you're like their shadow.
That's why it's called shadowing.
Okay, I get it.
And, the power of shadowing really comes from just doing it a little bit every day.
Yeah.
It's consistency.
Yes.
It's regular exposure and active repetition.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Even just 5 minutes each day can make a huge difference over time.
I think that's the key with a lot of this stuff, too, is like
Absolutely.
not trying to bite off more than you can chew.
Little and often.
Yes.
That's it.
Just like get a little bit better every single day.
Totally. And finding stuff to shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy these days.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube is full of great content.
YouTube podcasts.
Yeah, tons of short podcasts.
Movies, TV shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can even use scenes from your favorite movies or TV shows.
And you can even like slow it down
Oh, yeah.
if you need to.
Absolutely.
Rewind it. Speed it up, slow it down,
Yeah.
rewind it, listen again and again and again.
And the cool thing is that it can be anything that you're actually interested in.
That's it. Pick something you're interested in.
Yeah.
And then it's not like this horrible chore,
Exactly. It's fun.
It's fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. So why is this so effective?
Oh.
What is it about shadowing that makes it so good for your English?
Well, it helps build what we might call muscle memory for speaking.
Okay.
Your mouth and your brain get used to forming the sounds and the intonation patterns more automatically.
So you don't have to think about it as much.
You don't have to think about every single syllable.
You're just like,
It just comes out.
yeah, it just flows out.
It just flows, yeah.
That's what we want.
That's what we want.
All right, let's move on to tip number 2.
Okay, number 2.
Use speaking prompts daily.
Daily.
Okay, so a really common challenge that a lot of English learners have is they just don't know what to talk about
Yes.
when they want to practice speaking.
That's so true.
It's like, you should speak,
Right.
but then your mind goes blank.
Yes. And how do you create those opportunities to practice
Right.
speaking even when you don't have someone there to talk to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking prompts, the answer is simple speaking prompts.
Okay. Yeah.
Every day, choose a topic. Anything that pops into your head.
Anything.
Anything.
Whatever you feel like.
Yeah, and then just speak out loud about it for 1 to 2 minutes.
It could be absolutely anything.
Anything.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Yeah.
Or what's your favorite color?
What are you going to do after this? What's the weather like today?
Exactly. So what's so valuable about using these prompts is it kind of forces you
Yeah.
to generate spontaneous speech. You've got to pull vocabulary from your memory, and you've got to construct sentences in real time.
Like on the fly.
On the fly, exactly.
Okay.
It's good practice for thinking on your feet in English.
I like that thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
So to give you some ideas to get started, here's a couple example prompts. What's your morning routine? Describe your dream job, or what do you usually do on the weekends?
It could be as simple as that.
Simple as that.
What do you do on the weekends?
Exactly.
And I think the most important thing to remember with prompts is to start simple.
Yes.
Don't get discouraged.
You don't have to be perfect.
You don't have to be perfect. No one's expecting perfection here.
No.
It's really just about getting comfortable with
Yes.
speaking.
It's about building that confidence
Building that confidence. That's
and
it.
focusing on the flow.
The flow.
More than like,
Then getting every single word perfect.
yes,
And every grammar point perfect. Just keep talking.
just keep talking.
That's the main thing.
Which leads us perfectly into tip number 3.
Number 3.
Expand your sentences.
Oh, this is a good one.
This is a good one. So, sometimes you might give a very short, direct answer to a question.
Yeah. Like, I like music.
I like music. Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing grammatically wrong with that.
Of course not.
But it doesn't really showcase,
It doesn't show off all your English skills.
It doesn't show up your full potential.
Yeah, so instead of just saying, I like music, what could you say?
You could say something like, I really enjoy listening to music, especially pop and jazz. I usually listen when I'm walking or when I'm cooking.
I really enjoy listening to music, especially pop and jazz. I usually listen when I'm walking or when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
Oh, see how much better that sounds.
You've added so much more information
Yes.
in just a few words.
And it's so much more interesting to listen to.
Way more interesting.
So what's going on there? What are we adding to make those sentences longer and more interesting?
Well, we're adding details.
Details.
We're adding reasons and we're giving examples.
Reasons and examples.
Yeah, and that makes your speaking sound more fluent.
Uh-huh.
It allows you to express more nuanced ideas.
Right.
And it shows that you have a better command of all the different resources of the language.
So are we kind of anticipating the questions that someone might ask us?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Because if you just say, I like music, someone might say, oh, what kind of music do you like?
Yeah.
When do you listen to music?
Right.
So we're kind of preempting those questions
Okay.
by putting them all into one longer sentence.
So we're making it easier for the listener.
We're making it easier for the listener, and we're also making ourselves sound more impressive
Yes.
because we can show off all this great vocabulary.
So of those English skills.
Yeah.
I like it. And when you can do that, I feel like that would really boost your confidence as well.
Totally. Because if you can articulate, your thoughts and preferences with more detail and more, complexity, you naturally feel more capable, more in control, and confident.
Yeah, more confident, exactly.
Okay, so tip number 4 is all about shifting your internal dialogue.
Okay.
This is a big one. Think in English, not your native language.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
I know this can feel like a massive leap.
Right.
It is a big leap.
For a lot of learners.
Yeah, but it's so important.
It is because, the natural inclination is to translate everything from your native language to English in your head.
Yeah, word for word.
Word for word. And that translation process,
It slows you down.
it's slow.
Yeah,
And it really hinders your fluency.
it really does. So the goal here is to train yourself to think directly in English.
Yes, to bypass that translation step,
Yes, skip the middleman, just go straight to English.
straight to English, yeah. And I know it sounds daunting,
It does.
but you can start with really small exercises.
Small little baby steps.
Baby steps. That's it.
Like what?
Like just describe the things that you see around you in English.
Okay.
So look around the room now and just think to yourself,
Okay, that's a microphone.
that's a microphone.
The wall is white.
The wall is white.
My chair is black.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Okay.
And you can also talk to yourself in English
Oh, yeah.
when you're making a to-do list.
I do.
You do that.
I do that.
So say it out loud.
Yeah, actually do that.
In English.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need to go to the bank later.
I need to send that email.
I need to send that email.
I need to finish this episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like little things like that that really start to add up.
And the benefit is that you start to build these connections between concepts and English words
Without the translation.
without that intermediary translation step.
Yeah.
And that ultimately leads to, faster, more natural, and
Yeah.
more spontaneous speech.
That's what we want.
That's the goal.
All right. Tip number 5, use English in real life.
This is a good one.
Now, this one might seem a little obvious.
It seems obvious, but so many people don't do it.
Yeah, so many people don't actively seek out
Yes.
opportunities.
To use their English
Yeah.
in everyday life.
And that's why we're talking about it, because it's so important.
It is important.
Because it takes your English learning beyond the textbook.
Beyond the textbook.
Yes, and into
The real world.
yes, into the real world. It's making English a functional tool.
A tool you can use.
Yeah, not just something you're studying.
Exactly.
So give us some ideas, some actionable advice. How can we use English in real life?
Well, there are loads of small changes you can make.
Okay.
Change the language on your phone to English.
Or
Write your shopping list in English.
uh-huh.
Watch movies in English.
Listen to music in English.
Listen to music.
Yeah.
Read books in English.
If you have friends or family who speak English, talk to them in English.
Even just for a few minutes,
Yeah, just a little bit. Every single day, it all adds up.
It all adds up.
It's all about those habits.
And those small, consistent habits,
Yes.
they really reinforce your learning,
Yeah.
and they gradually shift your perception of English
Okay.
from something you study to something you use.
I like that because, let's be honest, the English that you're going to use in real life is different from the English that's in the textbook.
Very different.
Yeah, it's more informal.
Yes, more dynamic.
And there are more of those natural expressions that we've talked about.
Exactly. You pick up on all those nuances, the
Yeah.
idioms, the slang,
Yeah.
the common phrases that you wouldn't necessarily get from a textbook.
The stuff that makes you sound more like a native speaker.
Exactly.
Okay. Tip number 6, what to do when you make a mistake.
Okay.
Correct yourself out loud.
Oh, this is a good one.
This is so important
So important.
because everybody makes mistakes.
Everyone makes mistakes, especially
with a learning process.
yeah, especially when you're learning something new,
Absolutely.
like a new language.
Don't let it discourage you.
Do not let it discourage you. Mistakes are your friend.
Mistakes are our friends.
They are.
They help us to learn.
They show us.
They show us where we need to improve.
Exactly. So the key is not to avoid making mistakes.
Yeah,
The key is to learn from the mistakes.
absolutely.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, when you're speaking and you realize you said something wrong, take a pause, breathe, And then repeat the sentence correctly.
Correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so give us an example.
So let's say you say, he go to the park yesterday.
He go to the park yesterday.
You then stop yourself and say, oops, he went to the park yesterday.
He went to the park yesterday.
Okay.
And by saying the correct form out loud, you're more likely to remember it.
Yep. You're reinforcing.
Reinforcing it. Yeah. And another good technique is to record yourself
Oh, this is a good one.
speaking and then listen back.
Yeah.
And when you listen back, you can identify.
You could hear your mistakes.
You hear your mistake.
And then you know what to work on.
And then you know what to work on.
And you can listen to like, oh, how do native speakers say that?
I exactly too. It's like being your own teacher.
It is like being your own teacher. Yeah, I like that. So tip number 7, talk about the same topic in different ways.
This is a fun one.
Yeah, so what's the point of this? Why should we talk about the same topic in different ways?
Well, it helps you to become more flexible
Okay.
and more expressive.
Okay.
Critique.
And expand your vocabulary.
Absolutely, because you're using different words, different grammar.
Different sentence structures.
Yeah, different sentence structures to express the same idea.
So how do we do this? Give us the technique.
Okay, so choose a topic.
Yeah.
Any topic.
Okay.
And then challenge yourself to speak about it in a few different ways.
Okay.
So first, maybe speak slowly and clearly.
Okay, slowly and clearly.
With lots of detail.
Okay.
Then you could try speaking faster.
Okay.
More casually.
Okay.
Like you would in a normal conversation.
More natural.
More natural. And then you could try explaining the same topic using more complex vocabulary.
More advanced vocabulary.
More advanced vocabulary.
Okay.
More complicated sentences.
Longer sentences.
Yeah, longer sentences.
Okay.
So for example, let's say the topic is your job.
My job.
Okay. You could start by saying, I work in a bank.
I work in a bank. Simple.
Simple. Then you could add a bit more detail.
Okay.
I've been working in finance for 5 years and I really enjoy it.
Okay. I work in finance for 5 years and I really enjoy it.
And then you could say something like, my role involves managing client investments and helping them to achieve their financial goals.
My role involves managing client investments and helping them to achieve their financial goals.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're talking about the same thing.
Same thing.
But we're using different vocabulary.
Different vocabulary.
Different grammar.
And different sentence structures.
Okay, so the listener can really understand what we're talking about.
Exactly. And it makes you sound
super smart.
More sophisticated.
More sophisticated.
More fluent.
Yes.
More confident.
It really shows off your skills.
Shows off those English skills.
Yeah, and that will make you feel more confident.
Totally, because you realize, hey, I can actually talk about this in a few different ways.
I have options.
You have options.
Yes.
You're not stuck.
I like it. Okay, so now it's your turn.
Oh, it's challenge time.
It's challenge time. Are you ready for a mini speaking challenge?
Yes, bring it on.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to describe your favorite way to spend a free afternoon.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So tell me what you do.
Yeah.
Tell me why you enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
And maybe give us one specific detail.
Okay.
That makes it special.
I like it.
So for example, I could say my favorite way to spend a free afternoon is by going for a long walk in the park near my house. I really enjoy being surrounded by nature. And the fresh air always helps me to relax. Last time I went, I saw a family of ducks swimming in the pond, which was really lovely.
Ah, that's nice.
So there's an example for you.
Okay, listener, I want you to pause this deep dive right now.
Yes, pause it.
And speak for just 1 minute.
1 minute?
About your favorite way to spend a free afternoon.
And don't worry about making mistakes.
Don't worry about being perfect.
Just talk.
Just talk.
Okay.
Off you go.
All right, welcome back.
Welcome back.
So hopefully that got your English juices flowing.
I hope so.
Got you thinking in English?
It's a good warm-up.
It's a good warm-up.
Huh?
So let's quickly recap those 7 practical tips that we went over today.
Okay, let's do it.
Number 1, shadow native speakers daily.
Number 2, use those speaking prompts every day.
Number 3, expand your sentences.
Number 4, think in English.
Number 5, use English in real life as much as possible.
Number 6, correct yourself out loud.
Yes. And number 7, talk about the same topic in different ways.
And remember, consistency is key.
Consistency is key.
With all of these tips, even small, regular efforts over time will lead to, big improvements in your fluency and your confidence.
And it's all about building those habits.
Building those habits.
Those daily habits
that
get you speaking and using your English.
Absolutely. And remember, fluency isn't about memorizing.
Yeah.
Huge lists of vocabulary.
But they're like complicated grammar rules.
No, it's about using what you already know.
Yes, Actively.
Actively.
Using it regularly.
Regularly.
Out loud, out loud, out loud.
That's it.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to speak.
Don't be afraid.
Even if you're nervous.
Even if you make mistakes.
Every time you try.
You're improving.
You are improving.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the best way to learn to speak English
is to speak.
It's
as simple as that.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So now that you've heard all 7 of these amazing practical tips,
Yeah.
I want you to think about which one is going to be the most challenging for you.
Yeah. Which one are you a little bit scared of?
Yeah. And what's one small step?
One little baby step.
One little action that you can take today. To start using that tip.
Yeah. Go and do it.
Go and do it. Straight away.
We're waiting.
Okay, so we're diving into something a lot of you have been asking about, how to really get better at speaking English.
Yeah.
And you've given us some really cool stuff to work with today. 3 different podcast scripts.
Yeah.
All about how to improve your speaking. But they're all for different levels. So I've got one for beginners, one for intermediate learners, and then one for advanced.
You know what I really like about these scripts is that they're really practical.
Yeah.
Like they give you concrete things that you can do.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to go through all 3 of these scripts that you sent us.
Okay.
And we're going to pull out like the absolute best tips.
Yeah.
And the things that you can start doing right away to speak English more confidently and more correctly and more naturally. Okay, so let's start with the beginner level.
Sounds good.
What are some of the things that really jumped out at you?
Well, I think for beginners, it's really all about building a solid foundation.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Like you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that I noticed was that they really emphasize making English a daily habit.
Totally.
Like even if it's just for 5 minutes a day.
5 minutes, yeah. That's all it takes.
You know, they even gave the example of like just talking to yourself about your daily routine.
Oh, yeah.
Like I am brushing my teeth.
Right.
Or now I'm eating breakfast. And I think the point of that is...
It seems simple, but it really helps get your mouth moving.
Right.
And to start thinking in English.
Exactly. It's just about like getting comfortable with those sounds and making it less scary to actually speak.
It's like anything. Like if you just do it a little bit every day, it becomes a lot less scary.
For sure. And that actually connects to the next tip.
Okay.
Which is about using simple sentences.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yeah, they even gave a good example. They said instead of saying something like, today I am feeling slightly under the weather, you could just say, I feel sick today.
Exactly.
And it's so much clearer and so much easier to understand.
Especially when you're starting out.
Yeah.
You don't want to overcomplicate things. Just get your point across.
Exactly. Clarity is key.
Yep. Okay,
so another tip that I really liked was about learning useful phrases.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just individual words. And they said, like, instead of just memorizing the words go and store and milk, you could learn the entire phrase, I'm going to the store to buy milk.
Yeah, because then you have this like chunk of language that you can use in a real situation.
Exactly. And it's so much more useful than just having like a bunch of random words floating around in your head.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this next one is interesting, and I'm curious to get your take on it. They suggested recording yourself speaking.
Interesting.
For like 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then listening back to it as a way to kind of like assess yourself and improve your speaking. But I think for a lot of people, that could be kind of scary.
I can see that.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, how can people approach this?
I think the key is to not be too hard on yourself.
Right.
Don't listen to it and be like, oh my God, I sound terrible.
Yeah.
Just listen for like 1 or 2 things that you could maybe do better. Like maybe your pronunciation of a certain sound.
Right.
Or maybe you're speaking too fast or too slow.
Yeah, just pick one thing to focus on.
Exactly. And the more you do it,
Yeah.
the less scary it becomes. And actually, you can actually start to see your progress, which can be really motivating.
Absolutely. All right, so another beginner tip that they had was practicing in front of a mirror.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was kind of fun.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and they even gave like a little topic to practice. They said, hi, I'm your name.
Right.
I like music and movies.
Yeah.
And I guess the idea is that you're not just focusing on the words that you're saying.
Yeah, you're also focusing on your body language.
Yeah.
Your facial expressions, all that stuff.
And they actually had a whole section about nonverbal communication.
It's so important. People don't realize.
Like how much we communicate without even saying anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so they also talked about using apps.
Oh, yeah.
Like HelloTalk and Tandem and Lingby to connect with other people who are learning English.
Right.
Or even native speakers.
Native speakers, yeah.
Have you ever used any of those?
I've tried a couple of them. I think they can be really helpful,
Yeah.
especially if you're a bit shy about speaking English in person.
Right, because it's like a lower pressure environment.
Exactly. You can just like chat with people.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about making mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Mistakes are going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually address that fear of making mistakes.
It's a big one.
Yeah, they had this great little equation, mistakes, learning.
I love that.
Yeah, and they emphasize that everybody makes mistakes.
Even native speakers.
Yeah, even native speakers make mistakes.
All the time.
So the most important thing is just to speak,
Just keep speaking.
even if you make mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they even included like a little practice dialogue for beginners.
Oh, cool.
I was like, how are you today? I'm good. I went to the market.
Nice.
What did you buy?
Okay.
I bought fruit and bread.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's so simple.
Simple but effective.
Yeah, but it shows you like how you can actually communicate
Right.
using really basic English.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of great tips for beginners.
Yeah, those are some good foundations.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the intermediate level.
All right, so intermediate level, these are people who
Yeah.
they kind of have the basics down,
Right.
but they want to sound more fluent
Yeah,
and more natural.
exactly. And one of the techniques that they suggested was this thing called shadowing.
Shadowing. Oh, I love shadowing.
Oh, you've done this.
I've done it, yeah.
Okay, so tell us, what is shadowing?
Okay, so basically you listen to a native speaker,
Okay.
like maybe a podcast or a TED Talk or even a movie,
Okay.
and you repeat what they're saying,
Oh, wow.
like right after them.
Okay, so it's like you're their shadow.
Exactly. And you try to copy their intonation, their rhythm, their pronunciation, everything.
And they gave an example. They said, like, if the audio says,
Right.
what are you up to?
Right.
Then you would repeat, what are you up to?
Exactly. And it might feel a little weird at first,
Yeah.
but it really helps you to internalize the sounds of English.
So it's not just about learning the words.
Right.
It's also about learning how to say them.
Exactly. It's about the music of the language.
Yeah, like the rhythm and the intonation and all of that.
All of that.
That's really cool.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. So another intermediate tip was about using speaking prompts
Oh, yeah.
to build fluency. And they gave some examples like,
Okay.
describe your last trip, or what do you do on weekends?
Oh, I like those.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you're giving yourself a little mini speech.
Exactly. And it forces you to think on your feet and
Yeah.
come up with sentences
Right.
without having time to plan,
Exactly.
which is really important for fluency.
Yeah, because in real conversations,
Right.
you don't have time to like write down your answers.
Exactly.
They have to be spontaneous.
You got to be in the moment.
Yes.
Speaking of fluency,
Yeah.
another good tip is to try to expand your sentences.
Oh, yeah. They talked about that.
Yeah. So instead of just saying, I like music,
Right.
you could say, I like music, especially acoustic guitar. I listen to it while I'm working.
Yeah, that's so much more interesting.
Right. It gives you more information.
Yeah, it tells a story.
Yeah.
Okay. They also suggested joining speaking clubs or online groups to practice speaking with other people.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because even though we talked about the apps,
Right.
I think this is more about like having longer conversations.
Yeah, like real conversations,
Yeah.
not just like quick little chats.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is a little bit more of a mindset shift.
Okay.
They talked about trying to think in English
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
instead of translating in your head from
Yeah.
your native language.
Because if you're always translating,
Yeah,
it's going to slow you down.
exactly.
They're never going to be truly fluent.
So how can people actually do that? Like, how can you start thinking in English?
I think it starts with just like little things.
Yeah.
Like start labeling things around you in English
Okay.
in your head.
So like, that's a table.
Exactly. That's a chair.
That's a lamp.
Yeah. And try to have like little conversations with yourself in English.
Like an inner monologue.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really interesting.
And it takes time.
Yeah.
But the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
And they also talked about correcting yourself out loud.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
So if you make a mistake,
Yeah.
instead of just like thinking about it in your head, you actually say the correction out loud.
Exactly. So like if you say, he go to work, you would immediately say, he goes to work.
Yes.
And it feels a little weird,
Yeah.
but it really helps to reinforce the correct grammar in your brain.
And it shows that you're aware of the mistake.
Exactly. You're like, I know I made a mistake. I'm fixing it.
Yeah. It's like active learning.
It is. It is.
Okay. And then the last intermediate tip that I want to talk about was this exercise.
Okay.
Where they said to take a topic like your job
Right.
and explain it in 3 different ways.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So first, you would give like a 1-minute basic explanation.
Okay.
Then a more detailed planet explanation. And then a really quick 30-second summary.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they said this helps you to be more flexible with your speaking.
Yeah, because sometimes you need to be able to give a quick summary.
Right.
Sometimes you need to go into more detail.
Exactly.
It's good to be able to do both.
So it's all about being adaptable.
Adaptable, that's the word.
Yeah. Okay. So we've covered some really great intermediate tips. Now let's move on to the advanced level.
Our advanced level. So these are people who, they pretty much have it all down.
Right. They've got a really good grasp of English.
Yeah. They're fluent.
Yeah.
They have a good vocabulary, but they want to sound even more natural.
Right.
Like a native speaker.
Exactly. So what were some of the advanced tips that they gave?
Well, one of the biggest things is spontaneity.
Okay.
Like being able to just speak without thinking too much.
Without any preparation.
Without any preparation.
Yeah.
So they suggested setting a timer for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
And just talking about a topic.
With no notes.
With no notes.
Wow. No planning.
That sounds so hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
But it's so good for you.
What kind of topics did they suggest?
They had some interesting ones, like, is failure important in life?
Oh, wow.
Or what motivates you?
That's deep.
Yeah, these are topics that make you think.
Yeah.
And you have to come up with ideas.
Right.
And express them in English.
In real time.
In real time.
Yeah.
On the spot.
That's a really great exercise.
Yeah. And to make it even more challenging, they suggested improvising dialogues.
Oh, so like role playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So like imagine you're at a job interview.
Okay.
Or you're ordering food at a restaurant. Or you're talking on the phone.
Right.
And you have to come up with both sides of the conversation.
So you're playing both roles.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it really helps you to think quickly.
Yeah.
And to use a variety of vocabulary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a good one.
Okay, so they also talked about mastering collocation.
Collocations, yes.
Which are like those natural combinations of words.
Yeah, so like instead of saying do a decision, you'd say make a decision.
Yeah, or take responsibility.
Sex.
Do responsibility.
Yeah, these are things that native speakers just know, but learners often get wrong.
Right.
So it's really important to pay attention to these collocations because they can make a big difference in how natural you sound.
And they also talked about word stress.
Oh, yeah. Word stress is huge.
Yeah. They gave the example of he did it versus he did it.
Yeah. And it completely changes the meaning depending on where you put the stress.
And this is something that I think a lot of learners struggle with.
Yeah, because it's not always obvious where the stress should go.
Yeah.
So it's something that you really have to pay attention to and practice.
Okay, so for advanced learners, they also suggested recording yourself. But this time, talking about more complex topics.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like politics or philosophy or business.
So like really challenging topics.
Yeah, and then listening back and trying to identify areas where you could improve.
Yeah, like maybe you're using too many filler words or maybe you're pausing too much or maybe your grammar isn't quite perfect.
Right, so it's like taking it to the next level.
Exactly. It's about fine-tuning your speaking.
Yeah.
Polishing it up.
Okay, so this next tip is really interesting. They talked about incorporating emotion into your speaking.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, and they said, like, you can practice this by role-playing different scenarios. Like being sarcastic or humorous or angry or happy.
Right, because in real life,
yeah,
we don't just speak in a monotone.
No, we use our voices to express how we're feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they gave a good example. They said, like, the phrase, that's just great. Can sound completely different.
Totally different.
Depending on your intonation.
Yeah, you could say it sarcastically or you could say it genuinely.
Exactly.
And it all depends on your tone of voice.
And they suggested another really cool exercise.
Okay.
Which was to take an idea and explain it to different audiences.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so like imagine you're explaining your job to a child, then to a coworker, and then to a professor.
Yeah, that's really challenging.
Yeah, because you'd have to use different vocabulary, different sentence structure.
Different levels of formality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like really making you think about how to adapt your speaking to different situations.
To different people.
Yeah. And then the last advanced tip was this idea of reflective speaking.
Reflective speaking. That's a new one.
Yeah. So they said, like, at the end of the day, you could just talk to yourself about your day.
Like a little recap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, like, focus on what went well, what you could improve on, and what you're grateful for.
I like that.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting that they connected this to speaking practice.
Because it is. You're still practicing your speaking,
Yeah.
but you're also reflecting on your day,
Right.
which is a good thing to do anyway.
Exactly. Okay, and then to wrap up the advanced section, they gave a final practice topic.
All right, bring it on.
It was technology's impact on society.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And they challenged listeners to use all of the techniques that we've been talking about
Okay.
to really speak about this topic in a sophisticated and nuanced way.
So using complex vocabulary and grammar and being able to express their ideas clearly,
Exactly.
that's the goal.
So we've gone through a lot today.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we've talked about tips for beginners, intermediate learners, and advanced learners.
For everyone,
And I think the main takeaway is that,
consistent practice is key.
yeah, like no matter what level you're at,
Yeah.
if you want to improve your speaking, you have to practice consistently
Exactly. And you have to find ways to make it fun
Yes.
and engaging.
so that you'll actually stick with it.
Exactly.
So as you're listening to this, I want you to think about which of these tips
Yeah.
really resonated with you
Yeah.
and which ones you could start using today.
Today.
Yeah, even just one small change
Yeah.
can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been fun.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.